Hello and welcome to From the Backseat. I am your host, Ethan, and I am joined today by my co host.
What up, guys? This is Clark coming in again, hot, a little bit peeved because the Padres are deciding to dump their pants live as we speak against the Miami Marlins. But truthfully, what's new about that? Same old, same old. So stoked to get into today's episode.
You don't have to be so pessimistic about the Padres all the time.
Oh, I just know what it kind of feels like. I'm getting that feeling. Just a weird Miami. We don't play well in Miami ever, so maybe it's that it. But to go 3-3, if this is their road trip against Miami and Washington, is not really acceptable for the amount of talent that they have.
Yeah, but they're still figuring out some stuff, and I assume the Tatis thing is a huge distraction.
I mean, it is a huge distraction, but you got to get over it. I mean,
Especially when your dad is coming out there being like, oh, the reason he took steroids is because of the way that his hair was cut.
and don't forget that Fernando Tatis Sr. said for his son's teammates are jealous of him. Somehow, in his mind, he thought that was the right thing to say.
Yeah, I
So,
mean everything is just bad. Everything coming out of it, it feels very much like what's his name? The balls, like back in the day when
oh yeah,
LeVar
LeVar
used
Ball.
to.
Yeah, it's like a worse version of that. It's actually worse than that, I think, at this point.
Well, yeah, because LeVar never got them actually in trouble. Like he just
No,
ran his mouth a lot, whereas Fernando Tatis Sr. is like getting Junior in trouble.
no, and it's like what's also like crazy too is just you haven't heard from Fernando, like from Junior. You haven't heard from
No.
him. He hasn't said a word. And like all the reports and stuff that came out today just are making things compoundly worse and worse. But it's whatever. What are you gonna do? It's just a never-ending circle of stupidness with the Padres, I suppose. So just gotta hope they get it
Yeah.
right.
There's just something in the water right now that they got to get out of that San
I mean, it's
Diego.
just weird. Like, I know we're not really didn't intend to start on the show, but it's like the offense at times looks like unbelievable. Like they put up like 30 runs in 3 games. And then they have like this. I know Miami has like some good young pitching and they ran it Del Contra yesterday, but you have no runs a day against some like first and second year guys. It's put together some at bats. It's pretty brutal. I don't know. What are you
I
gonna
mean,
do
it's
though?
it's brutal, definitely with the perspective that Juan Soto is currently batting like 340 since he's become a Padre.
Well, it's like it stinks with that because it's like as much as he is and Manny are doing like great, like Josh Bell's hitting like sub 100 since getting here and
Yeah.
looks no clue what's going on. Drury's been good, but then it's like everyone else is just like it's really hit or miss right now. So just gotta weather the storm, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get out of there. With
Hopefully
the
they can
maybe they
figure
come
it
back.
out.
Who knows? Got no clue.
Well, so before we get into it, let's go through with our sponsor, which is Manscaped.
Yeah, what's up?
Manscaped. Well, really, support for this podcast comes from Manscaped, who is the best at men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package are the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, which is 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BACKSEAT. And you can use that at manscaped.com. The performance package is absolutely great. It comes in a convenient carrying case. It comes with everything you need. It's easy to use, it's easy to figure out. It even comes with the weed whacker, which you're able to get those nose hairs, which sometimes are pesky and can get annoying, especially if you're like going on a big interview. You don't want to have like a nose hair hanging out.
Nope. Mm-mm.
So Manscaped absolutely does the job. They also come with nice fragrances to make you smell nice. They come with nice boxers, which are good to keep that sweat away, keep everything
Away,
nice,
away. Mm-hmm.
keep that scent going good. Manscaped is an absolute incredible company. Please go use our code, which is 20% off and free shipping. And our code is backseat if you were thinking about it.
Seriously, folks, I tell you, sometimes when you use other just regular clippers, I don't care who they're from, when you're trying to, shape things around the way you need to, I suppose. They don't clip, they don't bind. Even if you wanted to use some of their tools that you had on your face itself, too, great pair itself, hard to beat. Won't find anything better on Manscaped. Got to go ahead and get yourself one, guys. Get into Manscaped.
Yeah. So as we get into today's show, where we're starting is with the preseason. So the preseason is currently dominating the news cycle. I mean, the Hall of Fame game somehow ended up with 5 million viewers a
Insane.
couple of weeks
Just
ago.
no need for that, but
Just
I guess
no
it's where we
need.
are.
But so preseason is obviously dominating the news cycle, especially if you're anywhere on TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. You're probably seeing all the hot takes from it and people just way overreacting to quarterbacks play in the preseason. So I wanted to ask you, Clark, who's someone that stood out for you through week one of the preseason? Or if you want to even crown a preseason week one MVP, who would that be for you?
I don't know if I'd go as far as MVP, but I will say a person who did certainly stand out. I'll go with I'll give you two actually, whom which I liked. One, I don't think a lot of people talked about. Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond looked good for Minnesota. I don't know if you guys watched or anyone on here has watched the Patreon of JT O'Sullivan doing the QB school. His breakdown of Kellen Mond's film was quite nice. He surprised, certainly liked what I saw there. Obviously, in no shape is going to be supplanting Kirk Cousins anytime soon. But if something come awry and he had to fill in for a game, Kellen Mond looks like he's improved a little bit from what he was last year as a raw quarterback. The second guy, though, in my mind, that I think really stood out, and it's unfortunate because he's just a menace to society, it appears, is George Pickens. I mean, Pickens had a day and a half. I mean, obviously, everyone saw the block that he had against, I forget who exactly it was for the Seahawks, but absolutely put that DB on his butt. I mean, you saw him; he did it in college in the college championship semifinal game. But not only did he have that viral moment, but people forget just a wonderful grab in the back of the end zone and get both feet down. As a Bengals fan, I thought George Pickens was going to be good. This is something that really happened. I still need to see it, obviously, in a regular season game. But George Pickens for the Steelers, man, impressive week one for him. As long as he doesn't fight anyone, we should be good. But we'll have to see when that happens. So for me, I would probably say George Pickens is my MVP. And I have one more guy, but I'll wait maybe till later to mention him.
Oh, so my preseason MVP was George Pickens.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, Pickens, he had so much hype during training camp, and now seeing it on the field, you kind of get it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's able to extend the ball, he's able to make big plays, he's everywhere.
Oh, without a
He's
doubt.
playing really well. One player I do want to throw out is maybe what I'd call like the LVP, least valuable player, who was just really bad preseason week one. Worst player preseason week one was Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson
Oh, it
came
looked
out
bad. He looked really
in that
bad.
Cleveland game and looked really, really bad, especially now with the suspension upcoming. I mean, he was playing against a second team Jaguars defense and literally could not locate a ball for his life.
I know. I
His
feel like it's one
first,
part, like not to interrupt, but I feel like it's one part people haven't talked about Deshaun. He has missed like 2 years now.
he's going to
You
miss
know,
a third too.
I know.
And they gave
Oh
him a
well.
fully guaranteed contract.
Wah, wah, wah.
He's
Eat
little
dirt,
baby.
bud.
But no, he looks bad. He looked bad. Nothing about that performance impressed me. I mean, his first throw was a rollout to the left that he just skied over.
Sailed.
He just skied it over. I mean, I don't. It just looked bad. Everything coming out of Cleveland just doesn't seem good. I mean, I'm prepared. I think they're gonna. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I definitely think they're gonna finish last in the AFC North. I don't think they
It
beat out
depends
the
on who the
Steelers.
Steelers start a quarterback.
I don't think it does. I think the
It
Steelers
does.
have. I mean, that wide receiving core is at least going to carry them to some wins, and Najee Harris. I I don't know. I think
If Deshaun's out,
higher than
if
Cleveland.
Deshaun's out, they'll finish last. But I think it also, if Mitch Trubisky starts, they'll finish last. The Steelers.
Oh, you think Trubisky is the worst option there?
No, Mason Rudolph is. But if we're
Okay.
really talking between Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, I would start Pickett.
One person. Oh, another person I'll say I was impressed by is I actually thought Malik Willis looked okay. I
Yeah, I thought Malik Willis looked really. He showed what the talent could be.
yeah,
Certainly, I did
he
like what I
showed
saw.
why he's a project quarterback. I mean, people
Yeah,
are acting like that he should start over Tannehill are absolutely insane.
no, not yet.
I mean, again, these what people always forget about preseason and why the overreactions always come is because they're playing against backups.
Yeah,
So like, of course they're gonna look better, but the processing was there, the athleticism was there, the big time
hmm
throws were there. I mean, it all wasn't coming together, but from a project, you got to be pretty encouraged about where he is.
no, where he is in terms of progression. Let me ask you this too, as a Chargers fan, just again on our personal notes here. Who is you think the most impressive person that maybe you saw from the Chargers preseason game that you liked, or maybe popped more than you thought would?
Probably Isaiah Spiller. I think
Okay,
Isaiah Spiller, he's probably going to be the backup running back for the Chargers, fourth round pick
nice.
this year. He showed really nice patience and cuts, and he's a really nice ball catcher. he's going to come up big, and I think it's going to allow the Chargers to kind of use Eckler in more of the Kamara role where he can line up wide,
Hmm.
and then they can have a running back in the backfield, which I think will probably do wonders for their offense. I
That's
mean,
a
if
good
they
pick.
can,
I like that.
if they could run a set of where they have three receivers on the field, Austin Eckler also on the field, and a running back, I think it's going to be hard to defend. If you have it wide, Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Eckler, I don't think there's four DBs that can stop all four.
It would be tough. It
I
would
think
be a
that's
tougher matchup.
too much challenge. I mean, Austin Eckler, again, he's really underrated in my book. People love to act like he's not top 10. In my book, he totally is just because he's an all purpose back. But
I would totally agree. I mean, you know my opinion on Eckler. I think he's a top 10 guy for sure.
yeah. Um, was there anyone who impressed you from the Bengals?
Oh yeah, I mean, if obviously no one who's listening here can see him. I mean, Ethan's and Cole's our other buddies group chat, but the guy who easily impressed most, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, was Dax Hill, the first round pick. I'm blown away a lot of times when I saw. Again, I know it's not Kyler Murray out there. I know it's not D Hop. I know it's not AJ Green, but some ball skills he showed off on a goal line fade to the back corner of the end zone. Unbelievable adjustment to the ball. Unbelievable way to get up there. Almost made the interception. Obviously dropped it coming down. And also, people out of college said, would he be able to play the single high look? Again, I know it's preseason, but great break on the ball a couple times. I refuse to believe at this point Dax Hill is going to be a guy that you put on the bench. He's going to be featured, I would hope, in Louis Anarumo's defense extensively. Wouldn't mind 3 safety looks. I could see him fitting somewhere in a corner spot too a little bit because of his coverage abilities. Definitely stood out. I loved exactly what he showed, and he can be a Swiss Army knife for us. The only bummer is now after seeing him is I know we won't be extending Jesse Bates, and the idea of him and Jesse Bates together, oh, it's just a shame we won't get it for more than a year as a Bengals fan.
So would you trade now with you saw Dax Hill? Would you trade Jesse Bates and get draft capital before he leaves next year?
No, I really don't think. I would rather have Jesse Bates for one more year than maybe get like a second round pick from him at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're the Bengals, you're probably at this. For at least in my opinion, you have a roster that can win right now. Don't trade a player that you know is. I mean, Jesse Bates is going to end up playing the season the whole time. It's just a matter of when he shows up. I'm sure it won't be until like after camp and stuff, but he'll be there. He'll play. I'm not going to trade him.
It's okay. Derwin James is also holding out.
Yeah,
So if you
Derwin
want
James
him,
has not showed up either. I feel like it's kind of gone under the radar.
I mean, it's going under the radar, but I think everyone knows the deal is going to get done. Like at some
Yeah,
point, I don't think this is where people are like, "Oh, this is a Bosa situation or Melvin Gordon." I don't think this
no,
is. I think. I bet what they're talking about is. I bet the numbers are already agreed to. I bet it's all just on injury guarantees
no,
because
I'm
if
sure.
Derwin James has extensive injury history, that they're probably just figuring out how much
I
more
mean,
he
it's
wants.
also a little bit of a bummer too. I mean, I guess I know Mika Fitzpatrick signed, but I bet if Bates signed too this offseason, then Derwin James would also have another number up on it. So I don't know if there's anything there with it in terms of
Yeah,
comparing contracts, but you're right. It's more probably a hold up on medical guarantees and stuff.
that's my guess. I bet it's all about the medicals just because of his injury history and probably his camp doesn't want to give
Yeah.
in to the injury. Yeah, stuff like that. But let's get into the show. So we already talked about Fernando, which was one of our quick hits
Hmm.
coming out of the gate. So our other quick hit is Zach Wilson. So
Yep.
Zach Wilson in preseason, uh, everyone thought he tore his ACL. Turns out he did not.
Thank goodness.
So he's only out 2 to 4 weeks, which could put him back by week 1, maybe could not. So
I
what
think
was
he'll
your
hold out.
reaction to this, Clark?
Zach Wilson is the quintessential example to any team who's thinking about it. Outside of rookie guys, if you have a franchise dude, don't play him first. Don't play him the first any at all in the preseason. Just sit him on the bench. There's no reason for this. I mean, truly, I know Zach Wilson had an up and down year, but are you really like the Jets ultimately were one swifter hit away to the knee, just a little bit harder from the season just being dead at that point. Joe Flacco would have been a quarterback. Any sort of hype around what they could grow into this year would be gone because the guy who's supposed to be at the head of it, a quarterback, is gone himself. So I think for me, it's just the cautionary tale of why if you do play starters at the bare minimum and you don't put them in harm's way and you stress to your quarterback like Zach Wilson, hey, this is a preseason game. You don't run for the first down, you just go down because people will pop you. Also, case in point, if you need to see people will pop you, look at what happened in the Jets-Eagles game. I believe it was that same one where Jalen Hurts got killed on the
Yep.
sideline.
Yeah.
So my takeaway from it is if you have a starter that you know is going to be your guy, no questions, preseason is not a thing you need to be doing.
Well, my thing is, I mean, I totally agree with you. But the other thing I just keep thinking about is like, if I were a coach, I'd be like, dude, why are you even moving out of the pocket?
Exactly.
Just stay in the
Exactly.
pocket. Just take a sack. Who cares? Like, at the end of the day, why are you moving?
There is no
Like,
need.
there's no need. I mean, it was a non-contact injury. There's no need to move out of the pocket in the preseason. It's
Mm-mm.
worth nothing. Like I kept hearing all these fans, like all these stupid like Rams fans or Raiders fans being like, "Oh, the Chargers lost this week." Who cares?
Yeah.
It's literally preseason. It means nothing.
Hmm.
The Ravens have won what, like 22
Oh,
preseason
some
games in a
obscene amount
row.
of preseason games in a row. But it's like, again, it's the preseason, meaning it precurs the season, which means it doesn't matter for anything.
Well, the stat I always go back to is the 2008 Lions literally went 4-0 in the
Yep.
preseason and then lost every regular season game.
It has no bearing. Like, you
It
can't tell
means
anything.
nothing. And it doesn't tell you about like how good your team is because like at the end of the day, these are just backups. Once you get to
Hmm.
the third string guys, most of them are getting cut. They're not even on the
Mm-mm.
53. So
I
like it
mean,
doesn't even matter.
again, I mean, if you ever need a case in point, and I know again it's biased and maybe it's a little bit more rarity, that preseason, and it doesn't really affect. First off, Chargers, I don't believe they played Justin Herbert at all last year, did they? At any
They did
point,
not. He didn't
that
play
didn't
one
seem to hurt him
snap.
whatsoever. Also, for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, did he play at all? No. I mean, he did, but he was terrible. But no one cares really. And then, Joe Burrow. Well, he played like one snap. Doesn't matter, dude. Like preseason is the most inconsequential thing you could ever possibly discover. It
No,
does
it's
not
so
matter.
it doesn't matter. And everyone's like, oh, they need the live reps. I want to see him against live reps. And it's
They get
like
enough live
at
reps
the
in
end,
practice.
well, and the other thing is like, what is it worth watching live reps against second and third string players if you're a starter? Like,
It isn't worth anything. That's the
it
thing. It's
isn't
worth
worth anything.
nothing.
And the other thing is, for me, whenever I watch it, I'm just like, man, those second and third string guys have
Hmm.
way more to gain than the
Oh yeah.
starter. The
Oh yeah.
starter has nothing to gain from
Hmm.
playing well in the preseason.
Exactly.
I mean, if
Exactly.
you're a fringe guy trying to fight for a roster spot, then yeah, it's really important. Play really well.
Yeah.
Go all out. That'll help you make the roster. But if you're like the solidified number 2 receiver
Hmm.
on the team, there is no reason
Oh
to
no.
go all out.
No. And especially with how short the preseason is now. I mean, there's no reason to just do anything. I mean, it's 3 weeks. It used to be like week 3 be your dress rehearsal. You play them a quarter. I can't even believe that was a thing now.
Yeah. So over on our chalkboard, if you're not in our chalkboard, go join our chalkboard. We have Leland, and so he's over in the YouTube comments right now, and he actually made a good point. And he said preseason is just whose practice squad is better than the others.
I mean, it does help you assess depth for sure. I think there is something to be said about that.
But
Um,
honestly, as much as you say that, sometimes there are dudes who just play really well in the preseason that get cut. Michael Sam, off the
no,
top of my head,
I
had
agree.
6
Well,
cuts in
Michael
the.
Sam's a different thing because that was just the Cowboys being outwardly homophobic. I'm pretty sure, really. I mean, not outwardly homophobic, but it
Yeah.
was like, really, you cut him? Why? So that was bad.
Oh, he also said Cody Bryant is the corner that got blocked by George Pickens.
Yeah, well, Cody Bryant, we'll be seeing, bud. That was brutal.
Um, so now we're gonna move into She's a 10.
Mm.
So we're gonna get into our biggest segment, our most popular, always rakes in the views. Clark and I got into a little controversy this week
I
over
suppose
She's
you
a
could
10.
call it controversy.
I mean, it was controversy with one person who had a big following that got mad at us.
I guess I mean, again, I suppose I apologize because we didn't know who the person was, but it was not a personal shot at anyone. Again, is it a joke? Whoever the girl was, I forget her name. Obviously, was a supermodel. Clearly a 10. Clearly,
That's the thing. Like
clearly,
he was
and
trying
it's
to
a
come at
joke.
us like the joke is she's a 10. Like she's literally again, she's a supermodel, but she's a Raiders fan. So what does that make her? Makes her a 0. It has nothing to
Yeah,
do with
it's
her
like
person.
it's
We're
just a little
calling
ha
her
ha
a
ha.
10. We're
No,
literally calling her a 10.
it's just I don't. I guess it wasn't okay, but whatever. Move past
Whatever.
it. Silly thing.
Yeah.
We'll just
For
use
for
NPC characters for our graphics, I guess now.
yeah, I guess we've extended too much. We put too many 10s in our videos to
Way
where
too
one guy
far.
got mad. Well, I mean, he knows her personally apparently, the supermodel. he knows her personally and her husband. And we were supposed to know that her husband's a really nice guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't know the husband, and I'm sure he is a really nice guy, and I'm sure
Yeah.
she's a really nice gal. But I mean, good lord, I'm so
She's a
sorry.
supermodel.
Yeah, obviously, it's like, good gracious, but whatever.
Well, and I do want to, if anyone's listening, I do want to throw out thanks to those people that were defending us. They were like, clearly this is a
This
joke.
was a joke, and you're taking it too far on
Like,
nothing.
I mean, I don't want to say this, and this is me getting mad, but for you to just call us out like that, it's kind of irresponsible with your following because you were completely misled and you just didn't understand the joke. And then you got Mike threatened that Raiders fans were going to go beat him up in the parking lot. Like, come on.
No, it was a dumb. It was. I mean, every person's entitled to their own reaction and stuff like that. But I think if just take a step back, understand the trend, it's just a joke. Clearly,
It's
we
just a
don't know
joke.
her. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, and her husband is obviously a great guy. But come on, let's
Come
just
on.
everyone relax here for a second. That was silly.
For sure. But let's get into our She's a 10 for the week. So, our first one, she's a 10, but she left at the start of the bottom of the eighth in a 1-run game.
Oh, that's tough because it doesn't show. That shows a lack of commitment. She will not commit. She doesn't want to stay in for things. And plus, the bottom of the ninth, who knows what could be going on? We got another 5 outs at bare minimum to be working with here for the home team. I'm never a fan of beat the traffic. I will stay at a Padres game if they are getting beat 7-0 and they have no shot. Not saying I expect my girlfriend or such to do the same thing, but I would like the courtesy extended. Concerning because of the commitment to the team, commitment to me issues. 7. We're going to go with she's a 7.
She's a 7. That's it.
6, 7, 6.5. It's tough. It's a tough one.
Okay. All right, I can respect 7. I actually thought you'd go lower. We had some, so PI podcast is on here too.
Mm-hmm.
He said she's a 4.
She's a 4.
She's a 4.
I mean, I get it. Look, here's the thing. It depends on what. Can I ask the context? If it's late in the season, if it's September, August baseball, we're staying. We cannot leave. I'm sorry. I will make you stay. Extra innings. I mean, I remember as a kid. This is a totally random story. I stayed till a Padres game until the 18th inning. They lost 2-1. I legitimately loved every second of it. Not expecting you to love it, but we will have to be staying. I will stay firm with the 7, but I understand the sentiment of the 4.
All right, I get it. All right, next up, she's a 10, but I'm sorry, let me restart. She's a 10, but she cheered when your rival's team tore their ACL.
She's
Actually,
10,
wait.
but she
Sorry.
She
I don't know
cheered
why
when my rival's team tore the ACL.
No, sorry, I said it wrong. Let me redo. I chewed on my voice because in the YouTube comments they were asking who sent the video, so I was just setting over who the person was, and I chewed on my words.
Nice.
So she's a 10, but she cheered when your rival's team's quarterback tore his ACL.
Man, if it's Deshaun Watson, a little understandable. Anyone else, I hate cheering injuries. I think cheering injuries is gross behavior. I think it's absolutely uncalled for. I don't care how much I dislike the team in which I'm opposing. That's a human being. I'm usually, more often than not, a very probably acceptable, nice guy who, if you met him, would you get along with, or any professional athlete this matter. And at the same time, professional athletes, contrary to what people think, they're not always just there for amusement. Again, they are people. That to me is a 0. If you cheer actively for an injury and you want one to occur, you are a 0. I think it's disgusting behavior as it comes. It's pretty scum.
Well, I will say, I think the only place where it's understandable is if that person is scum. Like if it is like Deshaun Watson, I think if they get injured, there is something.
I won't feel as bad. I'll still be like, well, I don't want to see someone get hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to see someone get hurt.
I'll be like, did he deserve it? Maybe karma. I don't know. No one deserves bad things that happen to them, but I don't know. 0 though. I mean, 0 for me for sure. I can't. I think it's a really gross thing to do. It's pretty lowbrow.
All right, I get it. Last one. She's a 10, but she doesn't get the hype of the NFL.
She doesn't get the hype of the NFL. This may surprise you. I would say like a 9.
Oh, wow.
I really don't mind it that much. Honestly, first off, respect for the voicing of the opinion, because I love an opinion. Always love an opinion because it can start a good conversation, if anything. Doesn't get the hype of the NFL. That's fine. I don't get the hype of the NBA, but people love the NBA. No one questions me about it. I would still say a 9. I love the NFL. It doesn't mean you have to love the NFL. We can love different things together and still coexist. It's still a 9 for me. Would I love for her to like the NFL and love it as much as I did? Sure. But it's not the end of the day that big of a deal. So still a 9.
Okay. Totally fair. All right, so let's move into hot takes. So Clark and I have prepared hot takes before we go into your hot takes. So Clark, what is your hot take of the week?
You know what? I'm still sitting on one that I want to say.
Okay.
I'm so close. You know what? I will pinpoint this. Week 1 of the NFL season, right before, I will give you my most searing hot take that I have. But until that point comes there, we will wait to hear it because I don't want to be ravaged that bad quite yet.
Okay.
However, I will go to a different topic itself. It is a little bit more benign and people talk about it, but I feel like with steroids being brought up, it is something that needs to be discussed. I believe that Barry Bonds being out of the Hall of Fame is the biggest tragedy that Major League Baseball and its writers and the voters have ever bestowed upon Major League Baseball fans, and that of Cooperstown. Now, I understand it. He did take steroids, but I think there's an amendment that could be made that makes it so that you can put a player in and have them memorialized and still recognize the flaw that they made. As well for Bonds, too, one of my biggest things is that whether you disagree with it or not, I suppose, I stand firm on the fact that the steroid era should be defined in its own right. If you want to deny that people were doing it, that's fine. There were exceptions, stir. But if you took a census of most of that steroid era of baseball, there would be a vast majority, not a vast majority, but an alarming number of players that you think weren't doing it. Bonds is easily, in my opinion, the greatest baseball player who has ever lived, offensively at least. People forget too how great of a defender he is. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. If you go to Cooperstown, it is memorialized as a museum, and a museum's right is to tell the story of something. And to tell the story of baseball, you have to have Barry Bonds inside those confines. I know it's a bit controversial, and I know it is still a little bit popular because it's become more of a normalized thing to say this. But again, with Tatis being brought up, I feel like to revisit this idea is that Barry Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. To me, it is not a question. To me, it needs to happen. He is an icon of the sport. And again, you can't tell the story of baseball without including Barry Bonds. And if you're going to call Baseball Hall of Fame a museum, you have to put one of its biggest relics in there itself in Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I mean, I actually totally agree with you. I get that he was a part of the steroid era and he did steroids, but almost every player was doing steroids then, and
It was so
they
common.
decided. But this is a whole different tangent, which I've always wanted to rant about and just never have. The voting for the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame is so
It's
dumb.
bad.
It's
It needs to
so
be better.
dumb.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that there's years where players can just not get in and just 0 players get inducted is really stupid.
I would tend to agree.
I think
And
that's really stupid.
I think, too, there's too many people who have a vote.
Yeah.
Far too many writers who have a vote.
Isn't there some guy from like the San Diego Union Tribune
So
who
here's the
like
perfect
covers?
thing. I shouldn't bash him because I do think Nick Campana has been a great writer for the San Diego Union Tribune for a long time. He does great columns for them. However, Nick Campana has a right to vote for the Hall of Fame for baseball. Nick Campana has covered the San Diego and Los Angeles Chargers almost his entire career. Kevin Acee is the one who covers the San Diego Padres for the Union Tribune. Nick Campana is not. Does he write columns on them? Sure. But is he in close touch with baseball itself? No. But for some reason, he has a vote. He's always someone that sticks out to me for the example. But it does need to be showed up. Baseball needs to figure out a more select number of people who have writers. It's diluted. There's way too many people in there right now. It needs to be fixed.
Well, and they do it by percentage, and it's not fair when there's such a high percentage of just people that don't know what they're talking about.
Well, it's just really tough too, especially going back to your point about the voting. If you drop below a certain threshold, you just don't. You're not on the ballot anymore. It's tough.
No, you just get knocked
You just
off for
get
some
bumped.
reason.
And it's like, maybe I don't know. It's a cutthroat and an inorganized way to do it, and I think it's needs to be looked at upon other things. But yeah.
Well, so what I want to say is we actually have 2 comments basically saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Of a point you didn't make, but they're both echoing this idea. Barry Bonds was just as elite before steroids.
No, exactly.
He was still a super productive player.
that's I think the story of Barry Bonds that is somewhat disappointing in that is that did he need to take steroids? No, absolutely not. He was a fantastic player who simply didn't need it. But because of the era that he played it and such commonplace that it became, he rode the wave like everyone else did. And Bonds, again, all-time player, again, in my mind, probably is the best offensive player we've ever seen. You could make an argument the best baseball player that's ever played. But yeah, to keep him out of the Hall of Fame is, to me, inexcusable.
Totally agree. All right, Clark. So my hot take this week, I think, is actually my hottest take I've had.
Oh, really?
And I've been sitting on this one for a while, and I felt this way since the end of the last NFL season.
Mm.
And I've just never vocalized it. And it pains me to say because I do
You're gonna
not
say
like
something
this
dumb.
player. I don't think it's dumb when you actually look at the numbers. My hot take this week is I think Travis Kelce at the end of his career is going to be the GOAT tight end. Reason I say that, Travis Kelce didn't really start his career until he was 25 years old. If you look at the averages, he is ahead of every other major tight end. The only reason Gonzalez is considered the GOAT is just because he played so long. He played 270 games, had 1,500 yards, 111 touchdowns. I mean, really, really good, really
Really good.
productive. He averaged 8 yards per reception in his year. Now, if we look at Travis Kelce has only played 127 games, less than half of what Gonzalez has. He just passed 9,000 yards. He has 57 touchdowns. He started at 25, so his career, he's only played really 7 full seasons, and he has averaged every single year in his career over 12 yards of reception. Every single time, he is an absolute game breaker. Now, he doesn't quite have the blocking persona that Tony Gonzalez did, who I'm just kind of using as who's the GOAT right now because that's what most
Mm-hmm.
people say. Because if you want to talk about Gronk, Kelsey's going to pass all of Gronk's numbers next year. Kelsey is 200 yards away from Gronk's yards record. Then he's only 10 touchdowns away from Gronk's touchdowns. I mean, Kelsey's going to pass that. You could
Mm-hmm.
bring up Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates has the same kind of longevity, but there's no blocking there.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, his numbers is another longevity thing, and they're just weaker than Gonzalez. So I just choose to use Gonzalez as the mark. I just think when you fully look at it, in the amount of time that Kelsey is doing this, Kelsey is a much more dominant player. Kelsey has had 7 seasons of 1,000 yards. He's had 7 seasons of 5+ touchdowns. And when you add on to that, Tyreek Hill has been on his offense the entire time. Another game breaker. And I would argue the entire time, Travis Kelce has been the better player. So
Wow, really?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so.
That's
I think
close. I mean, I would agree, but I think it's a conversation to be had.
it's definitely a conversation. But what I'm saying is, like, if you were to put Kelsey, if he were just a receiver, would there be a year in his career yet that you'd put him outside of the top 10 if he were just a receiver? So in my mind, then as a tight end, he's by far the most dominant tight end in the league right now.
Okay.
And when I just look at the numbers, unless if you want to make the longevity argument on Tony Gonzalez, there's not much to back up that Tony Gonzalez is more productive than Kelsey. Kelsey's averages are higher per year. He's had 7 seasons of 1,000+ yards. His touchdown numbers are right in line. Everything about it, I just see it as I don't know how much farther Kelsey is going to go in his career. I think he only plays 2 or 3 years more. And he's never actually going to be considered the GOAT because everyone's always going to mention the longevity thing. But the averages just show Kelsey has been more productive and he's been more dominant in his era.
I like the here's the only thing I might say that people may disagree with the statement like that. I do like the take. I'm a fan of it. People may argue though, and fairly enough, was Kelsey during his era, I would not consider him the most dominant tight end of his era, though. That's the thing. I think Gronk would still be considered more dominant and controlling than Kelsey was at both of their
Well,
peaks during the same
it
era.
kind of depends on what you consider their era because Gronk
I know he was
really
a little bit. Gronk was earlier,
Gronk
obviously.
is earlier because Gronk retired 3 seasons ago. So basically
They
the
take the
Tampa
time
Bay
off.
era. And so over the last 3 seasons, I mean Kelsey has easily been the most dominant tight end. You can make the
Well,
argument
yeah,
it was
last
Gronk,
three.
but I mean if you measure up that time, Kelsey was playing with Alex Smith during that time, whereas now he's playing with Mahomes, who makes him look really dominant, and Gronk was playing with Brady. the
So,
entire
so
time.
you would take at their peaks both. Let me ask you this: at both of their peaks, pinnacles of their career, they're playing at the same time. You can have either Gronk or Travis Kelce. Who would you want?
Well, so I think it kind of depends on my
They are
offense.
different receivers for sure, and what their game plans are.
Yeah, I think it depends on my offense because if I don't have any other weapons or any other talent on my offense, I'd probably want Gronk because of the blocking.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were just to take a pure player, I think Travis Kelce is more talented in the
Okay,
receiving game.
I
I
feel
don't
it.
think there's a player who's more dominant than him. I mean,
No, there's players that are more dominant than
how
Travis
about this?
Kelce.
I don't think there's a tight end who's more dominant than
Yeah,
him.
okay, tight end, yes, for sure. Right now, there is not one I feel like is more dominant consistently than Travis Kelce.
I mean,
I think when George Kittle's on and healthy, it's just not that often. I think it's a conversation between those two, at least in
no,
my
I think it is, but he's just never on the field, so
no, it's tough right now.
it's hard to put Kittle in that conversation.
No, but I would
Mark
agree. At
Andrews
this stage right now, for sure. Kelsey
Mark
top.
Andrews has shown that he has the ability. I just think this stretch of the last 7 seasons for Travis Kelce is unheard of by a tight end. And that's really his entire career because he started so late. His first snap was taken at 25, which is pretty much unheard of in the NFL these days. So when I just measure it up, he's been dominant since the day he got on the football field, and he's still dominant today. I think when he retires, I will consider him the greatest of all time. I
Really?
just think there's no player with a higher, or there's no tight end, is what I should really be saying. There's no tight end with a higher peak than him.
That's
I mean,
fair.
he's gone over 100%.
I know. I know. You're kind of cutting out right now. Can you hear me? I can't hear you right now. Oh, and there goes Ethan. And it's just me left on the stream again, folks. This is typically because Ethan has very bad Wi-Fi and it cuts out every once in a while. As you can see right there, the noise went out. But fortunately enough, through my talking right now, Ethan is coming back. Hopefully, when he reestablishes, which should be any second now.
Back.
Hey, are you back?
Yeah, so it just told me that I needed to refresh. All right, I'm
Nice.
back.
There you go. I kept things going while you were gone. Don't worry.
I heard. Yeah, the stream is still going, so we're fine.
Good.
Yeah. So that's my hot take of the week.
I like it. I like it. I'm a fan.
Okay, so let's get into your hot take. So I'm
I
gonna
already
be
did my
sharing.
hot take. Oh, you mean the fans'
No,
hot take?
the fan
Gotcha.
hot take. Sorry. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen. I already got the tier list, so we are gonna be able to see it. Clark, can you see it? Because I have to stay on the other screen.
See the tier list? Where's it at?
It should just be on your screen. Like you should just be able to see it in the Riverside thing.
No, I don't see it right now.
Oh, is it not loaded?
Oh, got it now. Now I got it.
Okay, cool. We are good with it. It should show up on the YouTube stream here in a minute. Yeah, it's up there. So we are good to go. So Clark, if you guys remember when we did this about a month ago, our S take is Ethan and Clark. Hot take. A take is this is really hot. We respect it. B take, this is likely going to happen. C take, Ethan and Clark do not agree with it. D take, this is not a hot take. And F take, it's so bad it shouldn't be spoken aloud. So Clark, are you ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready to dive in deep.
So our first one, this is a futures prediction. The Yankees will fall apart next year after Judge leaves.
I mean, I guess it depends on what we define as fall apart. I think the Yankees are one of those franchises, truthfully, because of their willingness to constantly win. That falling apart, I don't know if it's something that's really in their DNA. But I guess by a Yankees definition of falling apart, maybe. But I don't know if Judge is going to leave. So I guess for this, to fall apart is a lot for the Yankees. So I don't think that they will. I wouldn't agree with this. I would say this is a C take. This isn't one thing that I would adopt. I think the Yankees are going to be just fine, even if Judge leaves. They still have talent in their farm system. Their willingness to spend cash. Falling apart isn't something the Yankees typically do.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a C take. I don't necessarily think they'll fall apart. I think they'll be just fine. Now, win their division is a different thing. I don't know if they'll win the East next year.
It'll be tougher. I mean, obviously, because the Orioles this year are doing better than they thought. I don't know if they'll continue to extend as much as they will. Next year's a young talent. The Blue Jays, seem to have all the right pieces in the right place, but they're still struggling a little bit. The Rays seem to have found a model of consistency, even though they won't spend money. And the Red Sox, much like the Yankees, also spend. But I just don't see the Yankees out there just falling apart. I don't think it's really a thing if they do.
All right. So our next take, Jair Alexander will be better than Jalen Ramsey next season.
You take this one first.
For me, I don't agree with this one.
Yeah, this is not one I would agree with either.
I just think Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I get the idea. I just think you're never going to consider a player better than Jalen because Jalen moves around all over the field. So you can't use the argument that he's. I guess you could use the argument that he's not shadowing the number one, but Ramsey is used everywhere. He's absolute chess piece on the Ram. They just run their defense differently than everyone else. So Ramsey's not a traditional outside corner.
Yeah. I would say I would agree. I think it's, I mean, if we're going to go with, I would say mine's a C.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I think Jair Alexander, really top tier corner, but better than Ramsey. I don't see it. I don't see it as a possibility. I don't see it's happening.
For sure. Someone said that there's a little bias take, and I would probably agree. It probably came
That's
from
fine.
Packers.
Bias always gets involved in takes. What are you going to do?
All right, next one. The Indianapolis Colts will win 12 games. Sorry.
All right, 12 games.
So 12-5. It actually said 12 or 13, so it could be 12 or 5 or
yeah,
14.
12 or 13. Gosh. No, that won't be happening. I don't think the Colts and Titans toss up in that division is still very real to me. There's too many other good teams in the AFC for them to win 12, 13 games. That'd be like them grabbing a possible 2 seed, 3 seed. I don't see that happening. I don't know where to grade it though. I'm D. I don't like. I don't know. Maybe
So
I don't think it's gonna happen.
To tell you the truth, I don't think it's gonna happen. But because of how weak their division is, it wouldn't surprise me if they got hot if they swept their entire division and won 6 games.
You think they're gonna sweep? They're gonna win both games against the Titans.
I mean, I think they're gonna win that division. I think they probably go 5-1 in their division.
Sir, 5-1.
I mean,
have you forgot about Davis Mills?
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Davis Mills could win them a game.
Sorry, no, I can see 5-1. I think one of the things with the Colts that I really like people aren't talking about is they have a really good number 1-2 combination right now. I think Michael Pittman Jr. love him. Alec Pierce, watch out, weapon right there.
Yeah. Well, so
I'll say,
another comment that we didn't consider is, as a Jags fan, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014.
That is true. And if you needed any case in point, just look at last year. What happened to the biggest dumping of the pants of the 2021 season when the Colts literally could not finish against the Jaguars. So that's a good point, Ethan. So there you go. Whoever poked that hole, congrats. Nice. I guess, you know what? We'll keep it. I would say keep it in the C. What do you think? Oh my God. Is he down again? I can't hear him.
Hey, Clark.
Did you unplug?
Clark?
Yes.
You there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know what just happened. I couldn't hear you for a second.
Nice. Well, this is going lovely so far.
Yeah, it's okay. It's one of those days.
No, we're good. We're good. No, so I would say C tier for me.
C tier.
C tier. We'll put it in C tier. I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, next up. Kyler is not top 10.
I agree with this. I think Kyler's just outside of it right now with the way I see it. Wait, no, I take that back. Take it back. No, he is top 10. Kyler's top 10.
I think we both had him at 10.
Yes, I think we had him at 10. So I would say,
what? But again, I think I would put this in B as this is likely going to happen because I think there's probably quarterbacks that are going to pass him this year.
Yeah, I think there's quarterbacks that are going to ascend above Kyler. So I would say, yeah, B is a good rank for it. I like that.
I think B. All right, so next up, the Yankees aren't contenders this season.
Come on. What are we doing? This is I will be honest, this is going to be. Yeah, I understand. I'll be honest. No offense. This is F.
Okay.
For me.
I don't see any way that they're not World Series contenders.
How can you watch? I know it's been rougher here for the Yankees recently, but how can you watch their body of work this year? And they also have the American League MVP on their team. And also, by the way, I know they might not get the 1 seed, but the last place and probably the only place is a really true big home field advantage of baseball. There are several places that do, but there's not a bigger home field advantage of baseball than Yankee Stadium. The Yankee Stadium magic is true. If you go into that doghouse, you do not want that. The Yankees are a great team. I don't think they're the favorite of the American League. I never thought they have. I'm on record on saying that, but they are a legitimate contender.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next up, Derek Carr is going to be top 10.
You start with this one, Mr. Chargers fan.
Again, I kind of think a B take. I think this will probably happen. I think he'll probably be number 10 by the end of the season just because of the improved offense around him.
Yeah.
I would say,
I would say B for me as well. I think there's a regression coming from Kyler Murray. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be very good at all. People will turn an eye on him a little bit. I think he could slide into that 10 spot where he kind of is.
I mean, he's your number 11, my number 12.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine.
It's not inconceivable.
Yeah. All right, next up, Will Smith of the Dodgers is a top 3 Dodger on the team right now.
This is actually, I really like this. This is like an A take for me. This is an A take.
Is this an A take or are we adopting it?
I think it's an A take. I don't know if I would adopt it because there's arguments you can make for other players. I really like it though. Will Smith, highly underrated.
I would adopt it. I think
you would adopt it because he's not. He's not.
He's not, but it's not that hard to imagine.
Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, and Mookie Betts are better than him.
You're right. Plus, there's still the pitchers. I mean, I would still probably consider Walker Buehler.
But I really like this. I think Will Smith is one of the most underrated players in baseball. A phenomenal offensive catcher and a good defensive one too. He's a rarity of a breed these days. I really like the take. So whoever gave that out, salute, big ups. That's a very, very high IQ idea.
All right, next up, the Cowboys benefit from being in the East, and they wouldn't be as relevant if they didn't play in the NFC East and wouldn't win as many games.
The Cowboys, if we're talking about relevance, are relevant because of their history. Do they benefit from being in the NFC East? I don't even know. I mean, the NFC East is bad, but the NFC East is won by another team every single year.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're a model of consistency.
And they don't win it every year. I mean, it's not like the Patriots during their dynasty where like all the other teams were just trash and they were winning it year in and year out.
What would you give this?
I mean, I agree they do benefit to an extent from being in the East.
They benefit, but it's not why they're relevant in my mind.
It's not why. I don't think that was the take. I just kind of remembered it wrong. I think it's that the Cowboys, like they always have good records because they play in the East. I could go look up word for word what it is because I just write notes on the thing. Let me go look up word for word what it is. Oh, it went over here. Just give me a second. The Cowboys wouldn't be as good as their record shows if they were in a more competitive division. That's what the actual take says.
That'd be fair enough. I would say, yeah. I mean, I would say B. If they were in a better division in a year in and year out, I think they would struggle a little bit more.
Okay,
I'd say B. If that's the take verbatim, then yes.
Yeah, that's what the take actually says. All right, next up, Derek Carr will be MVP.
Oh man, Derek Carr will be MVP. I disagree with this. I don't think Derek Carr will be an MVP. I think he has an argument that he could probably make at the end of the year, but to say he's going to be MVP, no. C take for me. I don't see that. I
agree. He's not going to win MVP.
No.
I mean, I would almost say this is an F take. I don't see any way he wins MVP. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, for him to win MVP, that means they're winning the West and they're a top 2 seed, which I don't see any path to be quite honest. Their defense isn't good enough. I mean, even if Carr puts up stellar numbers, their defense just isn't good enough to put him in a place to win the West.
No, not at all.
Adam Thielen is the best number 2 receiver in the league.
No. This to me is a solid D or F.
You think this is an F?
I don't think he's close, but he's not the best number 2.
No, I could name a couple. I mean, I think T. Higgins is better than him nowadays. I would say Mike Williams is probably better than him. Just at the top of my head, R2 team.
Yes, I would not agree with that take.
Is Hunter Renfrow better than Adam Thielen?
Career-wise, probably not.
But
I agree. We'll put it in F. I don't think this is true at all.
No, I don't think.
All right, next up. if the New York Giants are clicking, they will win 10 or 11 games.
No, not happening ever. That's never going to happen. They won't. You understand how, like, I like the Giants to some extent. 10, 11 games, goodness gracious. Respectfully, I know, shouldn't be mean about it, but 10, 11 games, where are we drawing that number from? Have you seen Kenny Galladay? No, I don't see it happening in any circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't even talk about, this is back on, I'm looking at the chat, that Chris Godwin is also a number 2 receiver in Tampa.
Oh, Chris Godwin is certainly. Well, there's that.
So you think the Giants win as an F?
D or an F. Yeah, F. I would say F. There's no way they win 10 or 11 games.
I think it tops, because when I picked them to be a dark horse, I was thinking they'd sneak in at 9 and 8.
Yeah,
I didn't see 10 and 7. I would put it at C, but we can put it at F.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this one I think is the hottest take out of them all. The Packers should not have re-signed Aaron Rodgers.
What do you think? What's your take?
I don't like Jordan Love at all. So I
think Jordan Love's terrible. I think Jordan Love's really bad.
But I get the idea if like the Packers really believed in Jordan Love, yes, they shouldn't have re-signed
They don't,
Rodgers,
though.
but they clearly don't since they re-signed Rodgers. I mean, Love just must not be good.
No, disagree with this one strongly. I would just say C, though. I'm not like, it's not the worst take because I can understand it in some extent, but it's a no for me, dog, as Randy Jackson would say.
Oh, it's Leland's take. He said, "This is my take. Let me explain in the YouTube." So we'll come back to it.
We'll come back when he
read
gets
the
the explanation. Go ahead.
So
you can get his explanation in.
We'll do the last one and then come back when I see his explanation. All right. Last one is Steph Curry is the GOAT of basketball.
Right now or all time?
Of all time.
F. We don't say that. That's crazy.
That's crazy to me. It's an absolute
That is preposterous. I think Steph has revolutionized how people play basketball. I mean, just go to any local court of game being played. Everyone pulls up from 3 these days. The game is played substantially differently because of what he did himself. But to just put him up in the GOAT, there's several people I would put up before him. There's a guy still playing in the league that is easily still above him, LeBron James. I can't put him up there. No shot with that.
I can't put him up there either. I mean, if the take was Steph Curry is maybe the biggest influence on modern basketball,
then I would
totally agree.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I would totally agree. Him being the GOAT, there's just not much evidence for it.
There's not much. I mean, there's also plenty of guys you would name before him.
The thing is, like the LeBron Jordan talk, one reason that they're in that conversation is they're elite defenders. Steph Curry is a horrible defender.
I don't know if I would say horrible.
But I mean, comparatively, compared to
he's
those
not my
guys,
ideal defender. I mean, I think Steph does a good job. I wouldn't say he's horrible, but he's, again, the GOAT conversation. No, it's not there for me. I can't see that.
Wait, so are we gonna get your we still haven't gotten his explanation.
That's fine. I mean,
okay.
I'll be interested to hear what the actual explanation is because this is just wild.
Oh, he's saying it's because the Packers are just putting their future down the drain because they're going all in right now. And he's basically saying because they're not going to win anything anyway right now, what's the point?
They could definitely win something right now.
You think so?
That defense is incredible.
I mean, yeah, but you didn't even pick them to win the North.
Yeah, just because you don't win the North doesn't mean you go the whole. It doesn't mean you're just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it. I would put it in C. I don't think it's quite an F take. Like,
C. I mean, I will put it in C. Yeah, the Packers. Look, why would you not re-sign Aaron Rodgers? He's the best quarterback in the NFL, arguably, 2-time repeating MVP. If you didn't have him back, you can have him back. For
sure. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Not that I can think about off the top of my head.
All right. Well, this has been our show. This has been From the Backseat. Thank you to those in the YouTube comments. You're always welcome to come and watch us stream. We usually stream around 5:30 on Mondays and Thursdays. We did it on a Tuesday today just because we recorded that emergency one over the weekend for the Padres. So you're always welcome to come on and we'll answer your comments in real time just like we did right now, let you explain your takes. This has been User Hot Takes, us reviewing them. If you want to see the few tier lists, I'll put it up on our story on TikTok soon. I'll put it on Twitter so you'll be able to see exactly where we put them. And I'll put the link so you can make your own and send them to us. So this has been our show. Please leave a rating on Apple and Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps the show and it helps us build on one another. If you watch us on YouTube, thanks for watching us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Let us know what your favorite segment is. And go follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and thank you. And of course, thank you to Manscaped.
Yeah, appreciate it, Manscaped. Thanks everyone for showing up. Always love the questions. Always love the interaction.